Good afternoon, hello, 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 and a huge warm welcome to the Carnation Crafts Studio. We're in the second show of Bright and Clear. This is today's Crafters Select. It's flying, guys, so we are already approaching 65%. It's not going to last the day. Today is the only day you can get discount on it, and you need to shop fast. The number is 240323, Bright and Clear die set. If you go to the Carnation Crafts website, which is www.carnationcrafts.co.uk, there's a great big bright red button in the middle of the page at the top that says Deal of the Day. Click that and it will take you exactly to this item. That will change on a day-to-day basis, giving you a different discount on different products every single day. However, it is dedicated today to Bright and Clear. This is a brand new launch from Carnation. It's beautiful. It's a Crafter Select. $34.99 today, but as of midnight tonight, that's going to go back to $39.99. So this is it. This is your chance to get it with your discount. It's absolutely stunning. It really is truly beautiful. You've got a gorgeous card shape, which has got beautiful embossed corners. It's really pretty. It's also got all of the ease of apertures for you with little cut lines. Just, you can see one there, just allowing you to cut through to remove the center point should you wish to. They don't demand that you do that, in as much as, you know, we're not stuck with something. You get to change it. It's versatile to what you want it to be, and we need that as crafters. It gives us a lot of emphasis on control, which is what we want. You have this gorgeous, gorgeous banding here of these daffodils, which are truly, truly beautiful. All of these are snippable. They are designed so that band can be as long or as short as you require it to be. You've got certain decoupage elements as well, so you could build those up. But if I wanted to cut that halfway through that midpoint, I've absolutely got lines which will allow me to do that. If I want to turn it round so that meets that, as in a bracelet kind of shape, I can do that with it too, and that will give it dimension in different kind of card ways. So it's entirely what you up to what you want to do with it. I've got beautiful layers in here, nested set of either aperture dies or layered dies right in the center, and then also a nested set of sentiment holders depending on which you want it to be. There's a larger one at the bottom here in red, which has got beautiful embossed details in it too, and then I've got the little sets going above, so depending on the size of my sentiment. And the reason Carnation do this very much is if I have a sentiment that's very small, lots of sentiments that we get hold of, especially with stamps, are tiny, aren't they? And what you don't want is for that to be kind of like a pea in a biscuit barrel. We don't want it to just have this mass space around it. However, I might have a bigger sentiment, in which case I could ignore the mid layers and just use the bottom one if that's the case. So it's absolutely to work to your favour, and with everything sort of in control for the crafter. Added to that, we've got some gorgeous, gorgeous florals. Carnation did let me know in the mid of the show. This one is your beautiful grape hyacinth, not lavender as I had previously thought. I do apologise, I'm not a gardener. I have no clue about florals. I did know these were daffodils because they always remind me of Mother in Sunday, and I knew these were snowdrops because I happen to have them in my garden, and I knew from that. But I'm not particularly good with the names of florals, so I do apologise. Whichever way, these are all brought to you with colours coordinated towards spring. So if you want to create a card that's very much got a spring flavour to it, this is the collection to use. It's very pretty. So if you think of something like a Jane Austen garden, that's what this smacks of. It's got all of those elements, the buzzing insects, that beautiful story day, summer coming. It's very, very evocative of spring and summer. It's a really beautiful collection. You've got gorgeous, gorgeous detailing here in the butterflies, the two alternate colours here. So you've got the purples and the whites going together beautifully, all obviously mixing in with those florals. You also have the beautiful dragonfly or damselfly. I can never remember which one's which, but I know it's something to do with the wings. You have those there, the little green head, which also works in then with your greenery of these florals as well. So everything pulling together, isn't it? And all of the colours that you see in this collection, so your greens, your purples, your yellows, the oranges, these are all combinations that are best friends on the colour wheel, so nothing is clashing. You'll also find that in the past you have bought lots of perfect papers going with different collections where you've got lots of greens, yellows, oranges even, all of those variants, and certainly purples, lavenders, all of those colours working through in different collections. So please do get your perfect papers out and use them with them, or you can nip onto the Carnation Crafts website, type in perfect papers and have a look for collections that you think will go with this if you want specific papers for it. Just stunning, isn't it? Really, really gorgeous. It's obviously, you guys know what you're getting. You've already shopped ahead, a lot of you. But those of you who are on the fence, there isn't a long time to be on the fence for. First of all, it will change price at midnight, as we said, back to the higher price of $39.99. So now is the time to grab it at $34.99. So that's first and foremost. But the other thing is, it's selling so fast. We are already approaching 65%. We've only been on air with it an hour. So you're not going to have time later on in the day. And there is a chance that other people will grab this before you do, as in they might take it from your basket. So it is time to shop ahead. There is a QR code at the bottom of the screen. It's a little black and white fuzzy box. You can pop your camera from your phone over that and it'll take you to a link straight to that product. That's one alternative way of going to it. The other is to use either the number or the heading from the collection itself, Bright and Clear, on the website, and that will take you straight to that product. As we say, the deal of the day button is your favourite today. The artwork that you're getting for this, so when we showed you the boards, you'll see that we were talking about those colours, the yellows, the purples and the greens. That's artwork that's done in-house by the Carnation team, the creative team at Carnation, headed up by Nick. That's drawn in-house, it's coloured in-house, and the dies are born from it. So every time you get something perfect. They are free for you. That artwork is free for you to use. It's on the Carnation Crafts website. You need to go to downloads and then free downloads. Once you're in that section, especially today because it's one of the new ones, it will be at the top of the list there, Bright and Clear Vignette 1 download. Just pop that into your basket, check out, make sure you make an account so it remembers everything you've downloaded in the past. And you can, as Taz has just shown you there, you can go to Crafters Select and it will bring up everything you need there as well. Useful. And I have to say, while I'm here, very quickly, the Carnation Crafts website is incredibly easy to use. It's very nice to navigate through. Not all websites are the same, but Carnation's is incredibly easy to navigate. There's a TV tab. There's also a calendar tab. Carnation do have a digital marketplace where you can buy digital downloads as well. Easy for everything that you need. And there's, as you see, we've got variant things coming through the digital market there. Very, very easy. Please do take the time to go and familiarise yourself with the Carnation website. It's where you find all the bargains, and often there's little hidden ones on there. So go and ferret and find what you need. Right, today we are on with the Bright and Clear Crafter Select. We did have an hour previously. It's on the YouTube channel, which is Carnation Crafts TV. Please do go head over there, subscribe and hit the notification bell. It helps the channel grow, but it also lets you know when we're going live so that you know that you're not missing out on any of the demonstrations and inspiration from the DT team as well. You can go back and watch the last hour if you need to. So what we're going to do is have a look at some finished samples and then I'm going to start to demonstrate. We've got 3 demonstrations for you today. One of them, the first one, will focus on apertures using that main card shape. So when we're talking about apertures, what we're talking, if you don't know what an aperture is, and if you're brand new to card making, you may not. We only know what we know. You've got here a sample from Janine. And as you can see, it's recessed. You can see the 3 layers in the top corner here. There you go. That recessing, if you think of steps going into a swimming pool. So you've got those layers. They are layered apertures. Inside, you've got a blank space, okay? And that's where we decorate. That is an aperture. Now, I know it might sound obvious to those of you who have been card making for years, but for those of you who haven't and you're brand new, you may not know what an aperture is. In accordance to apertures, on the opposite side of the scale, you have layers, and that's what this one is. So it's layered up instead of layered in, and that's the difference between the two. And both give you a completely different visual impact, and so it's really nice to see it. I will just say, while I'm on with these, the one that I've got sitting here with the little otter on it, you can see just where my finger is. Can you see the white textured detail at the back here that it looks like it's been embossed or debossed? That's the frame, that's that band of daffodils that we saw on the boards, and you can see it here on this. That's that, but it's been cut out in white and used as a textural element at the back of the card. So again, a different way of playing. It would seem to me, though I could be wrong, that Janine has First of all, glued that down to the cardstock and then put it through her die machine, giving an absolute perfect cut on that curvature. So remember, everything has multiple ways of being used with Carnation. Following that, look at this, it's so pretty. So using those mid layers to have sort of an extra umph in that center and just folding down that card base at the bottom, it creates almost a flat 2D easel almost, doesn't it? So you've got this really gorgeous, gorgeous viewing point, and it really highlights what's in the center of it, and that's celebrating your day with that sentiment exactly halfway across that band. So super, super pretty. And then Janine has given us an alternative to that by using, instead of using half of the shape, she's actually added in one of Carnation's nested dies. These are the basic diamond shapes, and you can find those on the Carnation Crafts website. So never think that something has to be used completely independently. We can mix and merge and add things together. If I'm right, is that an aperture? No, do you know, Janine's been a clever little sausage here. Should I tell you what she's done? You see how it looks kind of like, I thought it was an aperture. She's used ink. She's just used some blended ink of a lavender colour around the edge. Isn't that pretty? She's a clever, clever sausage. If you want to work in 8x8, you absolutely can with this collection by using those bands. Remember, you can cut them to any size you want. They are perfectly snippable. They're designed to be so that you actually create bespoke creations with everything that you make with Carnation, and that's there for you as well. So you're going to have to work fast. That's the only thing, because there ain't going to be enough stock. 240323. Bright and clear die set found on the Carnation Crafts website, www.carnationcrafts.co.uk. Find your alternative uses to get there, which is obviously your QR code at the bottom of the page, which you can scan with your phone. You can use the number 240323 or type in bright and clear die set. The deal of the day button also will take you there, and all of them giving you easy access to this collection. That's the housework done. I hope you all had a wonderful break in between the shows and you're all feeling in fine fettle today. Thank you for joining us. It's always lovely to have your company. It's also important for us as a channel to see how you're responding to things. So it's lovely that we're getting your positive feedback for this, because you know, we want to know what you're doing with these cards. I know lots of you said you've already downloaded your vignettes, so that when we get this out to you tomorrow, you'll absolutely be able to craft with it. Carnation are very fast at the picking, the packing and the posting. So the most likely option is it'll be there tomorrow. Let's shuffle, place that down. Now, we're working with apertures, and I have pre-cut them, obviously, because time is not always forgiving. But I just wanted to show you them in form of layer. The main card shape that we've got obviously is going to be my base for this. However, when it comes into the actual dies, the main frame that we have been looking at, where it's done as a whole, has got the pip lines just around where we can cut into it. And I've utilised those there, and I've left the little pip marks so that you can see them. Now, I would snip them away if I was sending this card to somebody. I would just very carefully just snip those little pips. But I wanted to show you the tooth of them so you can see how it just separates. Now, the joy of that little tooth means I can either snip them with a pair of scissors, or I can actually just pull them. You are going to be left with the little tooth, and so you might want to just go in again with a craft knife or a pair of scissors just to snip it away. From there, I've got a series of nested dies, and I can choose which to use, which is lovely. What I've done is taken the main card shape, or the larger one if you like here. So this is going to seat perfectly on top, but still with an outline. I've then chosen one of the smaller dies, I've lined them up and I've cut them, and I've done the same with this one. I know lots of you are already very well aware how to make apertures, but some of us are joining us for the first time, and it's always fair for everybody to have the same crack at the whip.
We're getting some comments from our customers that are saying that they are really looking forward to seeing this aperture demo.
Whew, that's exciting. The pressure. So that is how you create your apertures. Now, if you want to create a layered aperture, one of the big issues is that you are going to have to measure out where it's going to be in order to get your distances, and that can be a burden and a problem. And the reason being is apertures are not easy to work with or not easy to create. There's two solutions to that problem. One is to get hold of Carnation's Clean and Simple, which completely takes care of all of your aperture needs. As in, you got no measuring to do when you're working with Clean and Simple. The problem with the Clean and Simple collection is it sells out super fast, and so they may not have any stock of it. But it is an easy way to work with apertures. However, any card base that Carnation makes, as a rule, can be made into an aperture. How do we do it in terms of measuring? Well, if I want to create a layered aperture, I would take my die that is going to be my baseline. Now I'm actually going to want all of the dies that seat below it to really be the same size. Now there are cheats around this, and I will explain it to you, but I'm going to want them all to roughly be that size. But then I want my next layer, perhaps, to be that size. That's going to be my first one. So if we take into consideration my purple, that's roughly where I am. Okay, that's great. But then what happens when I want the cream one, which of the two has got the smaller surface area here? Okay, so that's my purple. My cream is the one on the inside. Okay, so how do I measure it? How do I make sure that I've got that correct? Well, the first thing that I'm going to do is take this one, my big one, and I'm going to cut it twice, but in both colours, if you like. So I'm going to cut it once in purple and once in cream. I'm going to ignore the two nested. Don't need them at the minute. I'm just going to cut those two. So I've got my card base. All right, so we're going to imagine that's the full purple. Now I need to measure it. I need the purple to have a bigger surface area on those edges than the cream. So the first thing that I'm going to do with my two pieces of cardstock is put my cream, which is going to have the larger of the two apertures, behind my purple. So it's kind of backwards thinking, okay? Because you might be like, well, the purple sits behind the cream, so why are you putting the purple in front of the cream? Well, because I want this to have the smallest aperture. So the easiest way for me to measure this is to have both pieces of cardstock laying on top of each other, both of them with the card base, and I'm going to go in with my smallest die. Not the big one, the smallest. I'm going to measure it centrally and place it through my machine with the purple on the top and the cream below it. What I can say for absolute certainty is it's going to cut through my purple. There's every chance it'll cut through both, but it's going to definitely cut through my purple, okay? So my purple is now taken care of. Now, when it comes to the cream, I've either cut the small aperture through here already, or it's certainly embossed on there and I can see where it was. That means, with that in mind, if you think of that as being my cream, I've got this debossed line where the die sort of went through, or it's actually cut it out, which is great. Now I can go in with the bigger one, go around that mark that I've made, either by cutting it out altogether or by debossing it, take away the little one, and I can cut that smaller surface area on my cream layer. Easy fry, okay? It saves me measuring. It saves me having to work out the maths, which I can't do. My brain doesn't work that way. And if I did, it would go wrong and I would get frustrated. This way, I'm guaranteed to get those layered apertures exactly as I want them. I've got the tools from Carnation to be able to do it, so I can visually see it. Another alternative to this is to actually just use kind of scraps of paper. You wouldn't necessarily then, if this is going to be my background, I might turn around and go, well, I don't really need it to be the card shape. I can cut it in something bigger and then I can just use a trimmer to make it where it is. Then I don't have to measure it at all. And you just cut your aperture. Now that is true. It is true. The problem for me is that visually you lose some of the impact. I can't see the edges of the purple once my cream is fully on top of it. So why would I really be bothered? Well, it's when you do this. Because I want those to be as pleasing as possible. If I've just cut scraps, I can see it. I can see it on my layers going down the side. So that extra step of just cutting both together and then using the bigger die at the end to just get rid of the waste from the cream as such, this piece, well, that works better. I've got a neater finish. So that's my advice. I'm not saying it's the only way of doing it. It's just an easy way of doing it. I can't measure. I know lots of people who'll be watching going, well, just measure it. I totally get that. And if I could, I would. My brain doesn't work that way. And I hash it every single time. And the frustration level's not worth it for me because I get cross. It doesn't become a pleasant experience. I want it to be easy, and I do it the easy way. So that's how I do it. I hope that helps somebody who's watching. If you have any confusion at all, please do go to the Carnation Crafters group on Facebook and go and look in the video section. I have put a video in there that shows you exactly how to cut layered apertures in the way I just explained, in the easiest way possible. And it's there for you at any time to go back and have a look at if it makes life easier. Right, now enough of the waffle. Can I just remind you, because I did just waffle for a long time, 240323, because this is going so fast. You can come back and watch this at any time, but you can't go on there and get a discount at any time. It's more important that you shop ahead than watch this right now. You can come back. So 240323, $34.99, $2.95 UK P&P, but at midnight tonight, it goes right back up to $39.99. Your discount, excuse me, your discount is now. So just forewarned is forearmed. Right, I'm going to take this beautiful, gorgeous band here that I love so much. If you were to create a little box and have that as a band going around the box, it would be beautiful, right? I'm going to place this bang center in the middle of here. Yes, Taz?
Just while you're doing that, can I just say Susan has just commented and said, thank God you explained that. I have avoided aperture cards, but now she'll give them a go.
Honestly, and listen, I hear you, girl, because I have avoided them, or I did avoid them for years. I didn't get it. I kept trying to measure, it kept going wrong, and so I just didn't do it. And then I was sat one day and I thought, you've got to work this out. And actually, I kind of accidentally cut two pieces together. And then I was like, oh, that's even more annoying because now I've cut two and I only wanted one. And then I was like, well, hang on a minute, because I can see where the other one was. So if I use a bigger die on that, surely I've got mats and layers. And I did it by accident, but it has been my best friend ever since. And it's the thing that allows me to do apertures. If that's still too daunting, clean and simple is the way forward. Right, I'm just going to pull these down. Get rid of my 2 tabs here. I'm using a 3mm here. And that's going to just allow me to raise up. So I'm going to get that as close as I can. Now remember, this piece is slightly smaller than my card base, so I am looking for that outline. I'm going to push and I'm going to pull, okay? And that's just going to allow that to see. Isn't that pretty with that going through? Guys, we're approaching 70%. There's no time to listen to me blathering. Shop ahead. It's the thing with, what are you saying, Taz? Sorry.
Are they the Golden Age perfect papers that you're using?
Have I got the Golden Age? No.
Like it. Oh.
I'm using... It's by my feet in my craft room. That doesn't help you at all, does it? Not Held in Our Hearts. It's one I've just worked with. I'll find out and I'll post a comment in the group. It's perfect though, right? I saw it and I was like, ooh. It's got greens, blues. Oh, especially for you. Is it? Oh, I don't know.
It's not beneath the cherry blossom, is it?
It could be, yes. Has that got the purples?
Yeah, it's got some beneath the cherry blossom.
Beneath the cherry blossom, so it's got...
greens, pinks, it looks like purpley blue.
No, mine didn't have pink in it, that's the wrong one. We'll find out and I'll post it in the comments when I've finished the show, because it is the perfect set. It's one I've just worked with and it's escaped my brain. I apologise profusely. Now, this is very delicate. I've cut my foam tape in half so that I've got the thinner strips and I can use it. Actually, I think, to be fair, I did it in thirds so that I've got these very, very tiny thin strips that just seat on the outside. So I'm going to have to be fairly delicate with this. So I'm going to hold it from the top, place down. And I know where I'm going with it. So I can just very gently piece that through. And now I've got this beautiful aperture to work in. Okay, so you've got all of the depth that you would expect in an aperture. There is a little bit of overhang there. I'm not too stressed about it for the demo, but I would just go in with a pair of little snips and just snip that away, just so visually I can't see it, and that's not going to get into my way then. So from here, I'm going to introduce some florals. I'm not going over the top. We did quite a full card in the last demonstration we did in the last hour. I don't want to repeat the fullness of that. What I want to do is utilize the band as the visual. So I'm going to just tuck these at that bottom. The band isn't really part of my floral design. It's a textural eyepiece at the back of the card. So I'm going to lift this and just place it down. Now I've got a grounding device with the grass. We spoke about that earlier. This, as we go up, because it's a band and because it's very straight, we don't have straight lines as a rule in nature. So we know that it's not part of the visual design. However, what it is doing is occupying white space that would otherwise possibly be too much. So it occupies that space in a very delicate, very beautiful way. And again, gives us those flavors of spring that we're looking for, which is really pretty. Now I'm working in layers of height. So I'm going to bring in my snowdrops. For this, because I've got cut lines going all the way down the stem, instead of shaping it with a ball tool, I'm just going to pinch and roll. Just pinch and roll those cut lines, and it'll give you a curvature on your stem, okay? So I don't need to worry about shaping the florals per se, but I have got some lift and dimension. It's a long stem line here, which is full, so I can use silicone gel glue throughout the whole of that. And all I'm going to do, tiny bit more on the top flowers, just a little bit. Piece it in and slightly higher. So I'm not going to my grounding device here, I'm lifting, just because I want a little extra height. So there we go. We've got that placed. Now, can we just take a minute to just talk about how beautiful that is? A, as a shape, and B, just visually very pleasing. We talk about the detail going into Carnation, and this is a real prime example of that. Every single flower, tiny little flower head, petal head on there is beautifully illustrated. Right down to the tiny finite amount. That's what Carnation do so well, isn't it? We get those detailings all the way through. Taking an appropriate ball tool, working in that spiral just very quickly around these. Now I'm going to take the ball tool. I'm still using the smaller, it's not the smallest, but the smaller end here. And I'm just going to run along that band at the bottom. Can you see how it starts to curl? And that's just going to give me a nice bowl shape at the bottom. So it'll lift and protrude. I'm just going to bring each flower stem or head just back, so that they're now still sitting straight, and then I'm going to fill it with silicone gel glue. That's going to allow for the height that I used on the snowdrop where I made it round. I'm just repeating that, but in a more kind of exaggerated manner. Placing silicone gel glue on each and some on the inside here just to level that out so it's more flush. And then delicately grabbing and placing in, and just getting my pokey. Where would we be if nobody had invented the pokey tool? I'm just going to place that at the bottom and then very gently just kissing that silicone gel glue down. So I've got weight and I've got lift at the bottom. We arc up into that beautiful daffodil at the top, so we've got your composition view line, and then I'm going to come in and just add in a beautiful butterfly. I'm just going to pokey out his wings. And again on the other side. Just around. so that he's just got that little bit of extra oomph on his wings. Wet glue on him, just on his body line. Use your applicators, you'll get into those small spots that we're looking for. Lay him gently down, pokey tool his middle, so that those wings still have expansion and lift. Once that adhesion's taken place, you can raise those wings, but just give it a few minutes just to let that really sit and take hold. And then the final piece, which should not be forgotten, the little bumblebee. Just lift his wings slightly. Now I'm going to put him on a little bit of silicone gel glue, which may seem kind of obsolete in the sense of he's so tiny, but actually it will just give him a little shadow underneath and it'll add a weight to his little body. So there he is. Now hopefully he'll hold while I hold the card up so you can see it in full view. Again, easy pickings with card making when we're working with Carnation, isn't it? Because we've got all the elements that we need to create beautiful pieces that are done in such a way that we don't have to concern ourselves with the finite. Carnation have done it for us. So those pieces that the minutiae that we might concern ourselves with if we were trying to create this by hand, by colouring it in or doing something along those lines, where the room for error is so much greater, we don't have to worry ourselves with those pieces. What we can do is just create very pretty cards very easily. I hope the information on Apertures has helped a couple of people out. Please don't be put off by Apertures. They are a joy to work with. You'll find the Bright and Clear collection on the Carnation Crafts website. It is today's Crafters Select. You'll find it under the number 240323. You can also use the QR code at the bottom of the page. That's going to take you specifically to this item, but it will take you to the Carnation Crafts website where the item is, which is www.carnationcrafts.co.uk. Show price today $34.99 until midnight tonight, at which point it's $39.99. So it's definitely the time to get hold of it now. So we've worked with Apertures and we're going to work with some layers as well. We're just going to look at some different visuals and how they work. Now I just want to have a look at the idea of filling the card from top to bottom, because we're working with a DL shape. So when you fill the card top to bottom, you get this very, very full view. Okay, layering up. Layering's always good. Layering's good with clothes. Layering is good with card making. It's always going to have a really fundamentally beautiful view line, giving it that height. Now let me just bring this into this side so you can see it better. Okay, 3 very tall visual cards. What happens if we don't fill with so much height? And that's something that we're going to explore next, is the idea of leaving some white space, because this card shape is beautiful and sometimes we don't need to expose it all to something. We can work with smaller details. So we're going to look at that now and have a little scout through, Taz. Right. Card base. Cut twice, scored at 1/2 inch. So we did explore that in the last show when I had accidentally forgotten to score my card base. Obviously everything done with a reason here. Remove your red liner tape. And let's shuffle those together. Lay that down. Right, let's build these layers. Look how beautiful it is. I don't think I'll ever not love that. It's so pretty and clean, isn't it? Very, very fresh. It reminds me of cotton, of linen, of I don't know, just fresh. And then bringing in my midpoint. So we're just working white on white here. So if you don't have any perfect papers at home, get yourself some 350 GSM smooth cardstock. White on white can be just as beautiful. Give it some height with some foam tape. Allow those shadows to breathe. And lay it down. Gorgeous. That's stunning. That's literally stunning, isn't it? Now, I have got, accidentally sort of, sitting next to me, if I can just remove his little leg, a Carnation mouse. This card shape will lend itself to anything. I'm not using the Carnation mouse, by the way. I did just want to show you that the card shape is absolutely stunning. No matter what you pair it with. It just happened to be sat next to me. He's so cute. It happened to be sat next to me. I did just want to show you that. So I'll pop him back where he was because he's very happy next to me, and I will use him as my little mascot. But today I don't want, or in this one, I don't want to fill the height. I want to fill some of it, but I don't want to fill all of it. And that's because visually we don't need to. I am going to leave some white space. Now I will be using a sentiment to fill some of that white space. See this wee piece here? Kind of just fits these perfectly, right? Now I'm just going to place that on. I'm going to leave it raised. Can you see the shadows that are coming behind it? And I'm going to use those. Now I'm going to layer, because I do love to layer, but we're going to layer off to the side. We're going to add some bulk. Okay, now you can see they're very raised. They wouldn't stay that raised. It's just that right now, as I'm placing the adhesive and pushing, it's pushing the paper fibers forward. So I'm creating a fan. And I'm purposefully doing that because when I come to sort of lay it flat, I'll know exactly where I want it to be, but it will also have a little bit of shape and dimension from where I've been pushing. So that'll just be a nice visual for me. Now I'm going to come in with my very, very beautiful grape hyacinth sitting at the front, and I love the colour of it so much, but isn't it glorious with that span behind it? Now again, for this, I'm not shaping them out particularly this time, but I will just place in some wet glue, and this is a super easy, fast tutorial for quick cards. So I'm just bent that round slightly. I'm going to place it in and just cover my workings at the bottom. So that is my absolute finished grounding device. I don't want anything else to interfere with that grounding device, but I want to add in some yellow. And so instead of layering these on the top, I'm going to layer them in as a fan behind my grape hyacinth. So I'm just going to place wet glue here, raise this up, and so I can hide the point behind my kind of mid hyacinth at this side. Let that yellow span out. Same again on the other side. Hide your point. Look at that beautiful cacophony of colour. Very pretty. And actually we're not going to do much more to this. I am just going to place a sentiment. Sometimes when we base everything at the bottom, we give it gravitas and weight down at the bottom of a card. If you put a sentiment at the top, it just balances it so beautifully, especially when we're working white on white. If I'd used colour panels behind here, I would very much have weighted it differently, even visually, just by having that. So play it with the elements you've got. Now I can choose where to place this, and I can choose carefully. Placed at the top here, it's too high. It's visually not correct. If I come down a little bit, we start to get a little bit more where I want to be. If I place it here, it's not right either. You can see it. So I'm going to use this as my visual for it. I'm going to cue myself up by that being the top. Everything is pointing now to my sentiment, which makes it the part I want somebody to read first. Easy tones, easy done. White on white being very, very beautiful. If you're unsure about white on white, do use some blush papers. That will give you just a little hint of a tint. As certainly with this collection, I would be inclined to go with your natural blush papers and potentially some of your rose as well, just to warm those colours. Isn't it very pretty though? Spring is upon us. Gorgeous, right? You don't need to dominate the full card. It's never an essential part of it. We can leave white space. I know when I first started card making, white space was something that I kind of avoided. I felt very nervous about. You don't need to. Bright and Clear is on the Carnation Crafts website, 240323. Show price of $34.99, but only until midnight tonight because it's going to go back up to $39.99. Your $2.95 UK P&P today. You do have a QR code sitting there on the bottom of your screen, which you can just give it a little scan. It'll take you straight to the product, or just pop yourself over to www.carnationcrafts.co.uk. Use the search box to fill in the number 240323, or just type in the words Bright and Clear and everything will appear for you. Downloads and free downloads for your free artwork. You need to get ahead though, because it's selling like Billy O, and it's not going to last till midnight. It won't last till midnight. You all right, Taz?
I have plans for us for after the show, and I'll tell you for why. Pauline has just messaged in on YouTube and she says, oh my goodness, beautiful collection. She's been busy prepping lunch. She's made homemade Italian meatballs and homemade tomato sauce. So I think we're going to Pauline's after.
We're on a little road trip to Pauline. Is it Pauline E?
Pauline Ellington, yeah.
Yes, Pauline E. We're on a little road trip to you after, Pauline. I love a meatball. I lived in Italy for quite a long time, and I love, love, love Italian food. Right, here's my card base. We're going to look at something slightly off-kilter today. So I'm just going to push that back. And place down, okay? Very, very beautiful. Now I am going to work white on white again, but this time I'm going to disperse my layers differently. So instead of working with the traditional, I'm going to work on an angle. So I've cut 2 of these and I've got corner elements that I can follow. You see my little mid curve here. Instead of following that, I'm going to follow this, because this would be my obvious because it's my corner, but I'm going to follow that mid one just about there, just to place it down, okay? Odd, I know, at this stage, but don't worry, it'll start to make sense. Small amounts of wet glue. Don't overface it. So I'm following that beautiful little curvature there and there. So I've got my placement. I'm going to do the same, but on opposing sides. Just place them on. So I've got that beautiful cross line going on the center. Now, in order to cover up some workings there, I'm going to then use the smallest panel, okay? So I'm going to bring these off and I'll place this in its portrait stature exactly as it was intended and place down, okay? So I've created a larger scope on my card. Now, if you don't want to have these lines, obviously you are more than welcome to cover them with florals or any other thing. I like the visual, I like the busyness of it. I also like that when it opens as a card shape, I have a completely different visual to what I started with. So now I've almost got that kind of figure of 8 fan shape. It would also be very pretty with another one in the center. So it depends how you want to play with it. I just wanted to give you an alternative to, you know, the straightforward kind of thing that we've been doing so far. Now, in order to just kind of break up that corner line, those 2 crossover points, I'm just going to use these beautiful corners, which I love so very much. I think they're so pretty. So I'm following my center line, placing in. And I just think that's really beautiful as a visual. Just very pretty, isn't it? Really full. And then we're going to build some height with my reeds. We talked about these earlier, didn't we? About tucking them behind so you can hide them. If you want to keep them very, very straight, so you've just got the much taller reed, then measure them out and by all means use some adhesive on that top flower, work out where you want it to be, and then use that to pin, and then go in and remove your bulk using your snips. Just remove that bulk. So you don't have the two lines. Okay, so you've just got this very pretty long reed. The expanse of white is breaking up the colours, so it's going to be very tall, very pretty. Place that down and then just raise some points to add some adhesion. Place down. So we're creating a nice visual impact there, which I really, really love. I think this collection's just incredible for that. Now, very, very quickly, taking my ball tool, I'm just going to shape, that's too big, I'm just going to shape and ball out those flowers. Just going to lift them off the page, offer me some shadow play. Go around to that centre point, allow that to curl in on itself. Full curvature here. That's the power of a ball tool. So because I don't want that much curvature, because it would be a little odd, take your daff, pull that down, and just shape them out. So you've got the lift, but you don't have the kind of insane curvature. And now I can use some silicone gel glue on the flowers and some wet glue on the stem, which will allow me to have two different adhesion points. It will allow this to sit flat while the flowers rear up. See, that's so, that delicate lift that comes from it. Taking in these beautiful hyacinths here. And again, I'm just going to curve that line because I'm going to shape this out at the bottom so it sits proud of the stem behind. And then pop this down. Just over the top, but with the lift. So it's almost separated from the floral below. You have a gap, which you might not be able to see visually on camera, but actually it's very, very clear where I am. Yes, Miss Taz?
Sorry, just when you're finished, could you give us the size of your card, please? Suzanne is asking.
Give me the size of what?
Your card.
What card?
The card you're making. Can you tell us what the size
Oh,
is?
you want me to measure it?
Yeah.
Sorry.
What card? The one you're using.
Where am I? What day is it?
This is a piece of art.
I was very much in my own little world there. I do apologise. Sorry. Yes, I absolutely will. Placing through here with two tiny little dragonflies, just fanning out. Try and make sure they're as straight as possible, but that their wings have lift. Pin his body, pull his wings. She's not saying. Look at how beautiful that is. So just to show you it first, and then I'll measure it all out for you, Suzanne. Very pretty, really easy card making. You don't need to sit within a structure of a card base. You can change it up to what is effective for you and what makes you happy. This makes me happy, so I love the shape of it. I think it looks dynamic, pretty. It almost looks like a china ornament, doesn't it? It's very, very pretty. So just to measure that out for you, let me grab my trusty ruler here. I do only have centimetres, I'm afraid, so that's the only thing I can... I've got a mat as inches. Where's my centre point? Just about there. So width-wise, you're going to be looking at 6, and let's go 6.5 because it's nearly. It's not 6.5. It's that one. 6 and what's the next one? And then just down to the height of the card base, which is 7.25. So 6.25 by 7.25, not quite a square, but I think visually quite different, isn't it? When making something that's sort of unusual as far as card shape's concerned. And I think that's a really joyful thing to do with Carnation stuff, because of all the details so fine in it. You can actually get away with an awful lot more with Carnation when you're playing with their card bases without them looking odd. We can make and reshape it to look like something that was meant to be, even though it wasn't. Now you've got in here obviously the bright and clear die set. I do need to give you fair warning that we are vastly running out of stock, and that's because it's the deal of the day, which means at midnight tonight it's going to revert back to $39.99. I say revert back, but that will be its actual price. It's launching today, so it's launching at $34.99. Everything about today's bright and clear is all to do with those hints of spring and summer. The colours are very much geared towards it. Everything done on purpose, of course. And so too are the florals that grow at this time of year. Everything, again, geared towards spring. We've got the beautiful daffodil band and that card shape. And we're going to show you the boards very quickly before I get going, because we've still got a couple of minutes left. And I think for those of you sitting on the fence, sometimes seeing the board is exactly what you need to see to help you decide whether you want the collection or not. Have a look at that extraordinary card base. We've seen that card base used in many different ways, both through the samples from Janine and the way I've used it too. You've got apertures, layers. We can just build in so many different ways. You have the beautiful band line of daffodils that comes here, ready for you to snip to make it exactly what you want it to be. So any shape that you choose to do, you can do crossovers like we just did, because that is symmetrical. So if you wanted to create an X with it, that absolutely would work as well. You've also got your sentiment nested placeholders there as well. So if you want to stamp on those, or you'd like to add a sentiment to them with something that you've die cut, that can absolutely happen too. Different sizes depending on what you want it to be. Then on top of that, you've got your gorgeous board here full of those stunning florals. So you've got everything in height proportion. It's really important. If you think about what we've been creating today, especially when you look at layering, this one and this one are roughly the same height, this one being obviously the tallest, but it means that I can layer in front. Now this one will have a wider span and I can use two together and place that on top, but then I can get shorter elements. I can bring in my snowdrops to layer, I can bring in my hyacinths to layer, and I can bring in this stunning display of the daffodil heads at the bottom as a corner element. So it's all very much designed with purpose, isn't it? I also have elements of decoupage here. These will help me decoupage the band, the main band that we were looking at a moment ago, but it will also help me decoupage on here in different ways. And when I say decoupage, I'm not talking about traditional decoupage. And we don't always have to stick with the traditional. If I want to add two of these together to create a different stem, I can cover my workings by covering up one of those daffodils with one of my bigger decoupage elements. It will still seat perfectly, but you'll see it from a different viewpoint and it will look absolutely extraordinary every single time. And it's the joy, isn't it? It's what we're aiming for as crafters. This is an extraordinary crafter select. I mean, they always do them beautifully, but this is a really, truly knockout, stunning Crafters Select. This is bright and clear from Carnation Crafts, and you can find it on our website, which is www.carnationcrafts.co.uk. You can use the QR code at the bottom of your screen. You can use the number 240323, or you can type in the words bright and clear die set, all of which will take you to the item in focus. However, if you are with us today at some point, please do go to the website and use the deal of the day button, bright red in the middle of the screen at the top there, and it will take you to the item in question. You can buy straight from that point. There may be a point today when you come to view this and it is out of stock. If that's the case, it will say register interest, and that's a button for you to press to let Carnation know that you do want them to get it back in stock as soon as possible. Once you've registered your interest, Carnation will let you know as soon as they have it back. I think that's going to be the case because I think we're going to sell out. So, are you writing something that you want me to remember, Taz?
No, approaching 75%.
There you go. We're 3/4 through. It's not going to last till midnight. Let's just say it's not going to last until midnight. We're 3/4 already, and we've only, I mean, what time is it? 1 o'clock?
Just about.
Ain't going to last. If you buy it this morning, if you have bought it this morning, there is a very strong chance you'll have it tomorrow, all dependent on Royal Mail, of course. We do our bit, we rely on Royal Mail to do their bit, and they do an extraordinary job. I'm going to let you go and enjoy your time. I will be with you on Hobby Maker tomorrow, I believe. Wednesday, I believe at 2 and 6. And that is especially for you. We're going to have a look back at especially for you. If you've got that collection, join us for more inspiration. If you haven't got that collection, join us because you need it. Right, I will speak to you all very, very soon. Take massively good care of yourself. Thank you for joining us this morning. We appreciate it hugely. I'll speak to you soon. Take care. Bye.